Alright, there was a new glitch found recently in Super Mario 64 DS, which completely breaks the game. We're calling it quantum tunneling, and you'll see why when I describe it. So this glitch happens on gaps between when there's a gap between two triangles. If you've seen the new Zero Star task, which is possible now thanks to this glitch, we use the gap between these two triangles a few times because it's right next to the 1-star door. It's useful for 1-star door skip. So you can't really see the gap between the triangles right here. I made a little graph that will show it. Let me bring that up. Here's a graph in Desmos of the seam between those triangles. We can't see the gap now, but I'll zoom in. And there you go. Now, these 2 points right here, those are a distance of 1 unit apart in the game. And when you start walking, it's the distance you travel in the first frame. So you can see that the gap is about 1/8 of a unit wide. Now, the developers probably knew that there were going to be some seams with small gaps between them. So during part of the collision detection, there is actually a 1-unit buffer that is applied to every triangle. So you can't just walk precisely and fall into this gap. The game will detect that there is floor even if you're inside the gap. So how do we actually get through it? Well, if you, on one frame, are exactly 50 units below the floor, then the game, since the game actually checks for collision 50 units above you, which is inside the right in the middle of the player's model, there is actually a less than check, which should be a less than or equal to check, and it fails to use the 1-unit buffer when the detection happens right on the inside the gap. And so that's how we're able to get through this gap. And that's a very brief explanation for how this works. Hopefully Josh 65536 will create a more detailed explanation if you want to hear that about at some point. So what is required to get to this gap? There's 2 main things. The first is, first of all, a precise X and Z position that's inside the seam between 2 triangles. And you also need to have your Y position be exactly 50 units below the gap, below the floor. And so this means not only do you need to be traveling 50 units downwards, because on one frame you need to be above the floor and the next frame exactly 50 units below the floor, but your Y position has to be incredibly precise. Now, the game actually rounds all your positions down to the nearest 1/64th when checking for collision. So this works, there's a 1/64th unit range of Y positions that work for this. There are some setups we've found to press and release B during a jump for a certain amount of time to get the exact Y positions. And they're all like frame perfect, obviously, if you want to get an exact position like this. Josh made a great tool that, given any starting speed, it'll tell you when to hold and release B during the jump to get the right in the right Y position. So this glitch also works for clipping through walls. One case where you can do that is on these walls, for example. There's a small gap in the collision there. And to do this, to clip through a wall, this case Z position is exactly, has to be within 1/64th of a unit, exactly with the wall. And 50 units above the player's position needs to be exactly in the gap, because it checks in the middle of the carriage model. Also, similarly to the floor clips, you need to be moving at 50 speed horizontally. This is because on one frame you need to be 50 units away from the wall. It detects 50 units outwards. And so currently the only way that has been wall clips have been done is with a long jump, because that you can get over 50 speed like that. But it should, in theory, also be possible with slide kicking or sliding at high speeds, or using a shell, or flying even. And the other complication is that Yoshi's, Wario's, and Luigi's top long jump speed is actually only 48. So you need to do either chained long jumps or use Y-run to get over 50 speed as those characters. As Mario, his max long jump speed is 54, so it's a little bit easier to get the right speed. Now, there isn't, it's not, getting the exact Z position is pretty hard to do. Because you can't just hold B for certain amounts of frames like you were for getting an exact Y position. For tasking, you'd have to use pretty precise touchscreen positions like during the entire long jump to get optimally get the right position, or start from a specific X and Z position and then long jump there. But that's what the current Zero Star task does in Upstairs. But if we were to optimize it more, you would be adjusting your position during the long jump, which would be pretty hard. So this, like I said, this glitch allows us to do 0 star because we can clip in the lobby. It also helps with a bunch of challenges like the BC Sealess challenge and the B button challenge. And moreover, it saves a ton of time on many single stars. Not every seam works. Not every seam has a gap that you can actually clip through. But a good chunk of them do, and you're always decently close to a seam that can be clipped through. So it saves time on lots and lots of stars. There's a few of them that have, a few of the most interesting ones have TASes already, and we'll make more soon. Check the description for some of those TASes. And I also want to say that we are probably going to not use this in the 150 star task that we're working on, because it gets rid of a lot of cool strats that would be used otherwise. For example, out of balance movements and HMC is trivialized by this glitch a lot. Another thing is that, as I was talking about before, it's really hard to optimize this, and it would just make the task take even longer to complete. And also, it would change the route, so we would lose or have to redo a lot of the progress we already have, all of the small amount of progress we already have in the run. So that's about it. That's about all I wanted to say right now. Like I said before, keep an eye out for a lot of TASes using this trick. Thanks for watching.